Congratulations.
Thank you, Carl. Thanks for having me.
It's nice to even talk about expansion in brick and mortar apparel. What's driving it?
Well, demand, obviously. So we grew pretty quickly in the U.S. We went from 5 stores 4 years ago to almost 80 stores in North America now. And moving overseas had always been part of our goal. And what we recognized just through online traffic and the feedback that we're getting from in-store personnel is that there is a demand in the UK. But more importantly, there's a need. So there's no alternative shirt in the local market that really does look good untucked.
Is it a comment on the Brits suddenly discovering casual wear?
I think part of it is that. Part of it's just this, there's always been this latent need for what we ultimately provided. And I think as more companies shift to the casual like we saw in the U.S., I think it'll just become more apparent.
At a time where all of the uncertainty that we've seen for the last several years now around Brexit has factored into many businesses' decisions, did that factor into your decision to expand in that market specifically, or no?
Well, it obviously we thought about it, but similar to what we did in the U.S. So we launched stores in the U.S. in the midst of the retail apocalypse, but our stores are smaller, a little bit more nimble, and we're able to survive and to thrive. So in the UK, yes, Brexit is an uncertainty that we're well aware of, but the UK market is strong. There's 20% of commerce in the UK is done online, which plays in really well to a D2C brand like ourselves. And as I started, there is the need in the UK. We're pretty certain of that.
What have you learned about the way the brand translates to women? Because arguably women have been looking good, wearing shirts untucked for a long time. Were women buying these shirts for men? Were men buying them for themselves? How did the women's line come across?
So women had always been a significant portion of our consumer base, about 30%, so buying typically for men. And we started to get a lot of requests from the women that were buying for men to launch a women's line. And that's basically all of our product expansion, at least most of it, comes from specific requests from the consumer. Women's was no different. We just needed to think about how to style it a little bit differently. And if you look at our women's line, it is styled very differently than our men's.
In terms of the sales breakdown more broadly, how much of it is happening online? How much of it is happening in your brick and mortar locations?
So we're still more heavily weighted towards online than we are in brick and mortar, but the more stores we open, the more that kind of flattens out. I think ultimately we'll end up at 50-50 because there's this semi-symbiotic relationship between stores. So you open a store, it acts as kind of a geographical gravitational pull for consumers, but those consumers find their way back online. And so it's called the halo effect. There's a lot of kind of empirical data around it, but we have our own data. We know that wherever we open a store, online sales in that market, 30-minute drive time, however you want to define it, outpaces online sales in markets where we don't have stores.
I was going to ask about your supply chains. Are you subject to some of the other tariff issues that apparel makers have been focusing on?
We are. Unfortunately, we are. We're kind of caught right up in that. I think what we've been able to do is shift some of our production to non-tariff originating destinations. And the factories that we work with are large enough that they can kind of shuffle their client base. European clients move into China. We move kind of some of our production out of China. But we are not planning on increasing prices as a result. It's hopefully a temporary policy change, and it's difficult to price around policy.
To what extent does your e-commerce route influence how much inventory you keep and what inventory you keep? Are you able to be any sharper about that, you think, than a traditional retailer?
Well, it's interesting. So I would say from an online perspective, yes, right? We grew up online. We're really good at kind of just-in-time inventory. As you open stores, it is a challenge for a D2C brand to manage inventory the way some of the legacy retailers are. So things like buy online, pick up in store, ship from store, which would be from an inventory management perspective, pretty much a game changer. I think the D2C brands are a bit lagging in terms of the evolution. We'll be there in 2020. We'll be shipping from stores. And once we do, I think we'll be able to manage inventory really well.
Lastly, plans to go public? Do you have any?
At this point, no. I think we want to grow the business in a way that we're not catering to any specific exit and give ourselves, hopefully, the flexibility to make that decision.